Welcome to Unselfishly Me, a podcast all about self-love, self-care, and everything in between. I'm Jane, a personal trainer with a focus on self-love. Each week, we'll be chatting to someone about their self-love journey, how long it took, and what it took to get there. So today, we are doing a little catch-up session with Luna Finula, Siobhan. We haven't actually done anything like this in a while, and it's quite funny because now I'm sitting in my very tinny office in Portugal, and the last time we did this, I was in my nice little office in South Africa, so things have changed. And for you as well, she was not pregnant, and now she is pregnant. So
yeah,
our lives have changed quite a lot.
yeah, I think we did an episode, I feel like at the end of December, like before Christmas, like a kaleidoscope one or something.
It was the
So
transit.
like, yeah, I definitely wasn't pregnant then. You knew you were going to Portugal, but it wasn't like no one else knew at that point. So we were like keeping it on the down low.
We were a bit worried we wouldn't get our visa. We were still waiting for our visa, and
Yeah.
we were saying like Europe, but not where. Everyone thought that it was the UK, which is quite interesting. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna get,"
Yeah.
yeah, and then we ended up in sunny Portugal. So it has been quite a challenge. I haven't even done an episode on moving to Portugal yet. I will do it soon, but I wanted to do this one first with you. And yeah, so how is life? How are you feeling? And also you settled now in Edinburgh. How long have you been back now?
So actually on the 31st of July, so like the end of this month, it'll have been 2 years, which is crazy.
I was
Uh,
about to say 1 year.
it feels like it's only been a year because obviously we came back to South Africa for our wedding and like all of that stuff. But yeah, it was the 31st of July that we landed in Edinburgh and did our hotel quarantine. Like, can you believe
I remember
those 12 days of hell?
the fact that so many people, like our friend Carrie, had to do it.
Yeah.
Uh, with like, I think it was Emmy 4 then. I think she was 4. She was had to do it with a 4-year-old, or
Yeah, I
no,
can't imagine that. I'm like, okay, at least it was
3
just
or
Dane
4-year-old.
and I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
nuts. And the fact that you all had to pay for it, I just, if you,
So expensive.
that
Like such a
was
waste of
crazy.
money. I have like PTSD when I go to Edinburgh Airport now and I like see the hotel and like how much it cost and how it was like, I mean, we didn't even have like an outdoor space or anything and the windows didn't open. And I just look at it, I'm like, that was my first home in Edinburgh. I want my money back.
I know it actually is. It was a form of torture, and but it also just didn't make sense that you had to, like, I understand, but that you had to make payment for something or to cover the food or whatever. But I mean, also for you, you were moving home.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't
I
just
mean,
going on
it was,
holiday.
yeah, it was like £2,500. So that is just like mental. And yeah, like surely if you're from here, you should be able to go like quarantine at home, you know? But anyway, we're here now. It's been 2 years. Yeah, and feeling good. Yesterday I was officially 30 weeks pregnant. So depending on when this podcast episode comes out, I'm sure it will not be long after this. But yeah, feeling good. Starting to get to that stage now where I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I want to like start winding work down a bit. Although I still have a lot to do. I'm like kind of panicking. How am I going to finish all these projects and things in time? But also just listening to my body. Like, you know, I'm like, okay, I can do a bit of work, then I need to like go sit and have a break. And I've got like all my snacks around me. And yeah, really just like listening in and doing what I need each day. That's like the great thing about like being self-employed when you're pregnant, I guess, because you are in control of your schedule. So I can kind of pick and choose and work around midwife appointments and things like that. So that's been a blessing. Yeah.
Love it. And you've been traveling, and so
Yeah.
did you go to? So yeah, if you've listened before, you know that Siobhan does astrology, and we talk about like astrocartography or astrogeography, whichever one you choose to
Mm,
do.
yeah.
And you've been traveling recently, and I love it. Every time you go, you're like posting on Instagram stories, and she's like, I know I'm gonna go get there and gonna want to live there. And then both of you are
Yeah,
like, we want to move here.
every time, every time. Yeah, actually, I think it was for Christmas. We were like, okay, instead of gifts, we'll buy each other trips. And we didn't know that we were about to be pregnant. So we were like, okay, the plan is to have a baby. So let's just like get all these trips in while we still can, not realizing the surprise we were about to have as well. So it's been baby on board for all of these trips. So I bought Dane a trip to Copenhagen for his Christmas, and he bought me a trip to Berlin for mine. So we had those two trips. And actually, those two cities are on the same line for me. So
Oh,
yeah, I guess Berlin is like just south of Copenhagen in Germany. So it's like, depending on how your lines work in your own astrocartography map, you might have the same line running through both cities. Obviously, it kind of feels different because there will be other energies nearby. But I loved both so much. It was my North Node line. And for those who might not know, like in astrology, the North Node is a little bit outside our comfort zone, but it's also where our soul is kind of striving to go. And around the age of 36 in astrology, we have what we call the nodal return. So I guess for you, it would have been around the time when you had pay.
yes.
Like 30, like for some people, it starts a little earlier, like 35, like 35 to 37 kind of time. And like every 18 years, basically. And so I'm about to have my nodal return with my transition into motherhood. So the North nodes are changing on July 17th, depending on when this episode's out. We might already be in that moment. But the North node is moving into Aries, the South node's moving into Libra. And so being on that North node line just kind of gave me glimpses of like, what I want more from my life, how I can assert myself more, because a lot of the themes of like the Libra South node, and for anyone else who has this, like these two nodes as well, like we can be big people pleasers. So it can be hard to like take control and be like, but what do I actually need right now? So I think it's interesting. It's like coinciding with motherhood, because that is going to be a time where I am obviously like people like pleasing my baby, but still honoring my own needs, like my boundaries and when I need rest, and asking for help and support, like that's going to be a big test as well. So it was a great line to be on. And it was also it just felt like the kind of city where there was that Aries energy for me, where I was like feeling, I don't know, like a little bit more impulsive, and yeah, that like nice fire energy. So I could live in either of those cities. Like we were like Googling like how can we move to Copenhagen? But obviously Brexit. So it's not as easy for British people to now just move to Europe.
Yeah.
And my family would probably kill me if I would like just moved home to Scotland. Then I'm like, peace out, I'm off to Copenhagen. But highly recommend it, depending on what lines you have there. Even if it is a more challenging line, I'm like, still go, because there's obviously still there's lessons on every line. There's the medicine we need on every line. Yeah, so I think that was like a nice coincidence that it was both on my North Node line. And then I was back in South Africa as well for a few weeks in April. And I've got like lots of different lines in South Africa, actually. So funnily enough, like where you're from, Durban, and where like so many of my clients have come from through you, that's all like on my Uranus midheaven line. So like kind of unexpected, like bringing all these clients forth, and helping boost my career, which has been so nice. So thank you. And then also the fact that it's like a Uranus line, and you have, your Aquarius rising, like you've got that energy in your chart, like quite strongly. Always encouraging people like just to be themselves and like march to the beat of their own drum. And then I was with Dane's family on my Chiron line, which we can talk about your Chiron line too, because that's what you're on in Portugal. And that is always like a mixed bag, I guess. Like it feels like healing and comforting and like restful, but also brings up like lots of emotions and things as well. And like being in that transition, I think when I was there, I reached like the 20-week mark. So when I first arrived on the Chiron line, I still had like a lot of energy with the second trimester, but there was like something that hit with 20 weeks where I had a bit of a like dip in energy, and that happened there. But then I went down to Cape Town to my Venus line, and that always like feels so good for me. So we celebrated our first year wedding anniversary on my Venus line down in the Western Cape. Yeah, so it was nice to just like go back and get some of that energy as well. And then where else have I been? Oh, I also went to my Pluto line in Lanzarote with my mum. So that was like, so I don't know if like everyone knows, but Lanzarote, it's like part of Spain. It's part of the Canary Islands, so it's like just off the coast of Morocco. Not too far from you actually. Like I guess it would probably be another couple of hours south. But it's these like islands, and Lanzarote in particular is like it's volcanic, it's like black sand. It looks like the moon. Like it looks like you're on the moon. It's so cool. And I was a bit nervous because I knew it was my Pluto line, but it was actually amazing. And you need to like also look at your chart with astrocartography. So like where is Pluto in your chart? You know, like for some people it might not be in a great place, or there's like squares, like friction with other planets, and then it will manifest in a bit of a like unpleasant way. But I have it in my 9th house of travel. So travel for me is like one of my biggest transformative experiences. Like every time I travel, like I meet new people, learn new things, get inspired, get excited. That's kind of how Pluto comes through for me. So Lanzarote was also like that. It wasn't, you know, dark or scary. Or I think as a child, I didn't like going there on holiday. I always felt homesick. But now I'm a lot more comfortable with travel, and I've lived in like different places. So it kind of shines through in a new way. And also quite cool to visit Pluto, a Pluto line, to visit Pluto, like we're going to the planet. Cool to visit a Pluto line while I'm in that like transformative stage from maiden to motherhood. So yeah, that's my last few months of travels, and now I'm back on my moon line in Edinburgh. And for those who also don't know, like the moon IC line, it's kind of like the ultimate line to like step into motherhood on, because it's the IC in our charts. It's all about putting down, it's like our roots, our safety, security, stability, our home space, our family, like our little nest, you know? So here I am kind of putting down new roots. And I also have my moon in my 4th house of like family. And it's that mothering house. So I'm like, it was always meant to be here, you know, it wasn't meant to be on my Venus line in South Africa or on my sun line in China. Like it was, yeah, this is like the spot for that for me. So
That's
yeah.
crazy. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy.
the people think as soon as you have a baby, it's just like you're like, no, no, I don't want to do that. It's almost like you find your voice even more, that you
Yeah,
end up saying no, thank you, or you ask for help, or
yeah,
if people want to come see you and you're like, no, that's not what's right
yeah.
for me. And yeah, you kind of like step out of that, which is good
Mm,
for you or for anyone in general. And then also, I didn't even think about what you're saying about, I think because I always think about work because we always chat about my lines for work and things like that, that
mm.
when I didn't have a great experience with Cape Town because it's my Pluto
Pluto
line,
line. Yeah.
there since I was young, every year I would go with our family on holiday, and my
Mm.
cousins were there, and I loved going there on holiday. So it's so funny as you say that, like you're like, but I was living on this line or going to that line, and going
Yeah.
on holiday felt different for you. And I was like, oh, it actually did feel so different for me. I think I just maybe because I love going in there on holiday, when I couldn't fill a retreat, I
Mm.
was like having this negative experience. But actually, I had so many positive experiences there as well.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
know what's so interesting is like, although our astrocartography, astrogeography maps, they never change, but the planets are always moving, right? So like depending on where Pluto was when you were a kid versus like when you just went there like to try and do the retreat. And what's really interesting for you, so anyone actually with like, we all have Aquarius in our chart, right? But people who have like big Aquarius placements, like Aquarius rising, Aquarius sun, Aquarius moon, Pluto briefly moved into Aquarius for 3 months, but it's in January, it's going to be there for 20 years. Like it's a huge Pluto transit. So like you're like, especially when Pluto meets up with your rising sign, with your ascendant, which it will for you. I don't know like exactly when, depends on the degree that your rising sign is in. And I cannot remember right now off the top of my head, but it's like a complete transformation of yourself. So like I'm sure if, say, in 5 years you are in Cape Town, your Pluto line will feel completely different. It'll probably feel amazing because it's the first time Pluto's moved through your first house. So yeah, it's, we really have to like look at where Pluto is. Like I know when I was a kid, every time I went to like Lanzarote or those Canary Islands, Pluto was in my 12th house, which can be quite uncomfortable. And I know for you, it'll still kind of be there. But when it's in the first house, which it is for me now, it just feels like, yeah, it's like transformation of the self instead of like letting go of old cycles and things. So
Oh, it's
yeah,
gonna be interesting. 20 years. Oh my
I
God.
know 20 years in Aquarius. So much is going to change.
It's like when it's going to be in a sign like that for so long, is it like a positive sign? Is it like positive, or it can be negative? But it's,
Well,
but
Pluto,
like you
Pluto
said,
is
go through the,
always Pluto is always in a sign for a long time because it moves so slow. So it was in Capricorn since it's been in Capricorn since 2008. So like 15 years. Yeah, so like if we think about that period of time, like, that might have been like finishing varsity, whatever that was for you until this point, like just how much has changed in that amount of time.
yeah.
Um, and especially for you with like Pluto, I'm pretty sure Capricorn's on your 12th house. So it's like, like your spiritual transformations as well. Like so much has changed there.
This is why
Yeah.
you need to book a reading with an astrologer. Look at your chart yourself, because I've looked at it and I'm just like, I'd rather have the reading and we do the recording and then I go back on it, or the booklet, and you can just quickly like glance at things like that, because it's so
Yeah.
complicated, and like you think that it's normal and you like grasped it, and then you find out that things are changing or going this is going into that, and I'm like, oh my God, okay. That's how I've even said to Meg before. I said I would like study human design or something like that, so to be able to help clients, but this I will never study astrology. I'll be like, oh, Meg or Siobhan is going to do your chart.
Yeah, it is like something like you have to keep up with it like every day, I guess, because there's so many different things happening
Daily.
each day.
Yeah,
That is a daily thing. Yeah,
it's crazy.
especially the moon. Like today, actually, while we're recording, so obviously the sun is in Cancer right now, it's Cancer season, and the moon is in Taurus, and that is my like birth placements. Like I'm a Cancer sun, Taurus moon. So it only will happen like once a year. Like for you, when you're Leo sun and Leo moon. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually then it's a huge one for you this year because it's the Leo new moon, right? So that when it's always the new moon each year for you, I guess, with that sun and moon in the same sign, but August 16th. Like it's like the same energy as the day you were born, like maybe that's why I'm like tired and stuff today too. I don't know. Yeah, so tapping into that energy, but it will be so like nice for you to experience that on a new moon, like
Yeah.
yeah.
And on my Chiron line, I'm like, oh my God.
Fine,
But
look to where like tap back into your sun lines then, like
have
with
tea with someone in
energy.
Joburg
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Or
online.
do like an online, do something for the new moon with like people on your sun line in Joburg or something.
Oh, that's a good idea. I do like an online meditation and yoga, etc.
Mm,
Haven't done
yeah.
one of those for a while. I'll do a live one.
Yeah. Yeah. That could be nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
Love it.
So how is your Chiron line in Portugal so far?
I think like the first 2, 3 weeks you're okay when you're moving because it's exciting and new and different. And then it like
Yeah.
period kind of comes off, and then you're like missing home and all of that. I think it's been the hardest. Like I miss friends and family, but for my mom, because like Pace used to see her every day.
Yeah.
So me, but like I know how she's was missing her like every day, and then Pay was missing her every day, and yeah, it was hard. We didn't, I think it was 2 weeks we didn't do a video call with the two of them because we wanted her to just get a little bit more settled, and then she did, and then she was asking a lot, and so we like kind of made it like not often. And yeah, it was so that was very hard, and like I went through a phase where I was just very homesick. And like but because things are new and different, so you'll be fine one day and then the next day you'd be like, and I'm, you know me, I'm not a quick crier. I have like in my chart, so I'm just really fiery. And I'd just be like crying, and I'd just be like driving and dropping her to school and then crying on the way home, or whatever I was doing, and it just was like I couldn't stop it. Not that I was trying to, but it was just like whenever I would talk to my brother or my mom on message, it would be like so it was very challenging. I feel a bit better now. So since friends came to visit as well, so Nick went back to South Africa, and then my friend Tanya, we call her Plum, so if I say Plum, that's who it is. She was like, let me come and help you. She lives in Paris.
So I thought her name was actually Plum, and I was like, that is so cool.
It is so cute. Yeah, so this is Instagram and Twitter handles, you see, because hers is being Plum. So that's all I've ever known. Like when we met online was always everyone just calls her Plum. So
people always think I'm Luna, like, yeah, I'm like, okay, I'll happily be Luna.
Exactly. So she came to help while Nick was away. So she came for a weekend. It was just so nice having someone here and like someone to help with pay. Like it's not an open plan house anymore. So getting used to things like that. I can't just go and cook in the kitchen and leave her there because then the other door's open and she can like wander out. And so there's a lot of like getting used to things. So having her come, it just kind of gave me new energy. And then Meg came, and that was also like, I mean, people were making comments, DMing me on Instagram once Meg had left. Like, so I had like 2 friends in a row, like with like a 1 week gap, and everyone was just like, it's been so nice watching your stories because you can see the sparkles back in your eye, or you've come alive since your friends have visited you, and things like that. So, and that's what I always said. Everyone was like, aren't you so sad that you're moving away from all your friends? And I was like, no, but I'm moving closer to other friends. So I mean, getting to see Meg's in Ireland, you're in Scotland, Kiri's in England, my cousins are in England, like she's in Paris, like moving closer to people that are in the northern hemisphere, it also makes a difference. And then seeing friends here that have been coming on holiday, not because I was here, they'd already planned it from America and places like that. So you know, it is sad, and I miss my mom more than anyone, to be honest, which I think affected, because it doesn't just affect me, it affects Pay as well. So it's like the 3 of us get affected the most. So she's here now and it's completely different, and I feel like happier than I have been, you know, and it just feels right, and it feels homey, and I'm on my moon line.
Well, I mean, you've got Chiron in your 4th house, right? So it manifests through home and the family. So just to have your mom there will make things feel complete.
Yes, exactly. That's what it feels like, complete. Like I'd be so happy if she lived here with us. But I know that also, I think my moon line is in Malaga in Spain, which is not far. It's about 4 or 5 hours, which is so weird. I only thought about that the other day. Was when so Siobhan's on my one, is it my Uranus line?
Yes, and you were on mine in South Africa.
So it was so nice because then so now I'm like, I feel that energy, and it's the same energy in Ireland, I think. So like
it is.
I'm like, and it's like that when I go to Edinburgh or Ireland, it's like this electric energy. Like I suppose it's like a lot of people would feel that in London, that like hustle and bustle. For me, it's like that kind of, I feel like that. When we hadn't really spoken about it, but I mean, I spoke to both of you about it, but I only realized that when I was living in Edinburgh in 2006, I went to my brother's friend's house in Malaga. Or like we flew into Malaga. He lives in Marbella, so it's like right next door. So I flew into Malaga airport. So how funny that is my moon line.
Yeah.
And now I look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's right here. Because I think when you or both of you had said, oh, and your moon line is Malaga. And I was like, oh, I've been there. How funny.
It's so close. Yeah. Yeah. And that moon line, like the moon line can make you really homesick as well because it like brings up vulnerabilities and stuff. Um, but you should definitely still go visit, like time it with like a new moon or a full moon to go back and do something there because
That's a good idea. I
I
can look for a
moon
retreat.
lines feel like a hug, I think, you know, like when you get comfortable with if you're comfortable with your moon sign and like being more vulnerable and
Yeah, because it is
stuff.
my moon is Leo as well. So I definitely
Yeah,
think maybe I'll do an event or something. Um, mm,
that could be fun.
a good
Yeah.
sunset, full moon.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm gonna plan that. But yeah, we're definitely gonna go visit him and he'll come here because it's my brother's best friend. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. Everything's all linked, isn't it? It's just
It's
uncanny.
crazy.
I love
Yeah.
it. I can't
That's
wait to see what date this baby is born and
oh, me too. I'm like, yeah, the cusp of Virgo Libra. So which one is it going to be and which moon sign? And then I'll be like the time of day because that is what dictates the rising sign. And
yes.
yeah, and we've also got like a few retrogrades coming up. So like Venus retrograde starts on the 23rd of July. Then we've got Mercury retrograde starting again on the 23rd of August. So I'm like, I really hope he won't be born like during Venus retrograde because that would be kind of early. But he might still be born during Mercury retrograde. Although I was born during Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
Um, and it can like affect like if you feel understood by people and things like that. But at the same time, I feel like being born under like a certain planet's retrograde period means that's like your comfort zone, like you're familiar with it. So like when Mercury retrograde is affecting everyone else, I'm like, I'm kind of fine right now because this is like what life is always like for me.
And for you, because you also like have a love-hate relationship with technology,
Yeah.
that when it's actually haywire, you're like, it's fine, I'll go read my book.
Yeah, I'm like, yes, Instagram's down, or and that's probably why I'm not very good with technology either. Like other than like some sound stuff, which is interesting, but you know, like my recording stuff. But otherwise, I'm like useless. Like, don't ask me to figure out even where to find like a plug or how to use a socket or like I'm like you just have to plug something in, and I'm like, how? And I don't drive, which is also like, you know, Mercury retrograde affects like transport and things as well. And I have no luck with travel. I was just down in Bristol at the weekend for my friend's mother blessing, like her baby shower. And every time I travel anywhere in the UK, like outside Scotland, I'm always delayed. And I'm like, you know, I thought because I just had a big transit finish. So basically, the planet Uranus is currently in Taurus, and that is like my third and fourth house. And I just had Uranus leave my third house. And I thought, because the third house rules communication, but also local travel, I was like, great, I'm going to have no problem getting down to England now. No, it's actually, I'm
It's
just
not
cursed.
train.
You know, I really thought I was like, I have so much faith now. Like that transit is done, it's safe. But sometimes that stuff just like digs in deep.
Every time I see that picture of you on a train with a delay, I'm just like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah, again.
of course. There she is again. I'm fine if I come to Europe. So like when I come to visit you in Portugal,
Be okay. It's
that's
just
fine. Although Portugal is my Mars line, which is so interesting.
hmm.
Yeah. But I need to tap into that more because it helps with my North Node in Aries. So it's like the, you know, like you're on my Mars line, like that fire energy, that motivation. You're always on a line that like encourages and like pushes me and like cheers me on and stuff. So
So true. I didn't know it was your Mars line. That's like the energy I had in Egypt, in Cairo, which is
yeah.
jarring when you first arrive. You're like, oh. And there was
Yeah.
at least where I am, it's like more like it's less hustle and bustle. Like I'm not in
Yeah.
central Lisbon, which is very busy, busy, busy. Like it's almost like
Mm,
the Cairo thing. I think I was quite overwhelmed when I arrived there. But because I knew what to expect, I was
yeah.
calm about it. But I think if I didn't know, about that. And if anyone hasn't listened, you can go and listen. We did a whole podcast. Meg and I met in Egypt, and it was her Venus land, so she was all beautiful and floaty, and I was like,
You're Mars.
so we did like a breakdown of that energy. But it was so, yeah, I think because she had prepared me, I knew what to expect. If she hadn't prepared me, I would have been like, why am I in such a bad, why am I feeling like this? And I probably would have fallen into a bad mood and not known why. Energy was like affecting me, or I just would have been like, oh, it's so busy here, and feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I suppose.
Yeah.
I still felt creative and like that drive. Like I felt like, oh, this is, let's go here, let's keep going. It kind of has that energy that keeps you going.
Yeah, I have Mars. So that Mars line I have in like Portugal, but it's a little bit more north. It's like, I think it's closer to Porto. And it goes to London as well. And London for me, I mean, like, it's just, I really don't like, I'm sorry, everyone who lives in London or is from London, but it's just not my city. Like it's so Mars energy for me, like overwhelmingly so. Whereas I always find like when I used to go to Portugal, like when that's like, like in South Africa, like people from Joburg will go to Durban on holiday, or Durban people will go like down the coast or to Cape Town. Like we would go to Portugal. So that was like our holiday destination, and I loved it. I never like felt that Mars energy. But yeah, London for me, it's like very strong there. So
yes, I think I've also got is it Mars in New York? Or I think I've got something similar. New York energy for me is also, I think it's quite masculine, and that would be like the giant London, and the hustle and bustle energy. So it's so interesting.
Whereas I have a moon line in New York, and I love New York, even though it is like, so we can't like look, oh, but that's a bigger city, so that's going to be more hustle bustle for this person, because it really does depend what's going on there. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, because you would think that, and then for you it's like, it's not that big, it's just
it's not. Yeah. Whereas London, I'm like, oh my God. Even like Dane, my husband, was in London last week, and even just him being there made me feel like that Mars like tens like energy.
It really is so fascinating. And I think that the more you educate yourself on astrocartography and astrogeography, then you learn these things, and you know why you feel a certain way in a certain place, which I think is so important, or why you're drawn to that place, or why do you want to move there, or why are you obsessed with that kind of food. And so interesting. And if you haven't, that's why everyone will say, what should I do? Should I do my Enneagram? Should I do this? Should I do my human design? Should I do astrology? And I was like, if you can do your human design and astrology first, like I always like say, that is the most important, because it can affect your daily life and where you work or how you get clients and things like that. And then you can also do your business. Like I've done business and I've done personal, and the lines are different, so your business can be on a completely different trajectory than you as a person, which is also interesting. But I think it's so important to do those first, and then go into the like Enneagrams and all those kind of other things that are really also important, but they don't change how you live on a daily basis, and they don't explain things that make you feel, inverted commas, normal, because now you understand yourself better, and you know why you're drawn to a certain place, or why you are the way you are, and why your human design is this way, or what you mean to do, or why even like the gates and the channels in human design, also very complicated, but sometimes you just know something. Oh, okay, well, you've got this certain channel or this certain gate that is the gate of knowing, and that's why you can't explain why you know something, so people think you just know it. I mean, it gives you permission, I feel like, to be yourself. So it's so fascinating. I can't wait to check in again in another 6 months and be like,
I know.
How are you feeling now as a mother? And see what the little babe is. I can't wait to see what star sign and all that, because I think for you, it's such an important thing to know and to be able to like dissect the person.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, as an astrologer mom, I'm also like, oh, you still have to let them like grow and develop and like be the person they want to be. But like I don't want to be like, oh, it's because he has this moon, or
Biased, hey, like
have to kind of like, but it also means like it's good to also just be like knowledgeable in that stuff, so you can help guide them.
Yeah.
Or be like, oh, it's because, like, like with Pay's got an Aries moon, doesn't she? So like, yeah, so like knowing that helps, because then you're like, on Aries moon days, like this might be what's going on for her, and you can kind of like, help her through that in a way.
Yes, I always check if she has like a meltdown. I'll be like, what is the sun in today, or the moon, whatever what is the moon in? Is it happening? Oh, okay. Oh, it's full moon. She's gonna be crazy. Okay.
She is Aries moon and obviously Cancer sun. And actually, like, Saturday night, Sunday, and yesterday she had her like birth. It was the Aries moon and Cancer sun. So I don't know how she was the last couple of days, but
she's been quite fiery.
Oh, well, there we go.
Now we know. Even my mom was like, wow.
Sassy.
Yes, I must go and remember she was very challenging on the weekend. Like very, it was a lot to deal with. So now,
and like that's, like I do think when we have like those moments where we're back in our birth placements, like like for me, Cancer sun Taurus moon, like I could just like lie on my bed right now, like, and do nothing. It's that energy for me, and then for her it will be like fiery and sassy and quick emotions that are changing a lot.
yes, it's been a lot. I've had to be like, I will take a heart off your chart, and she's very into reward chart now.
Oh, cute.
I don't do stars because I was going to draw stars, and then I was like, no, it's easier to draw a heart. So, and it actually rhymes with chart. So I don't know why we
that sounds really
chart.
cool.
So I'm like, I will take a heart off your chart. And she's like, when she runs to the kitchen to see that I haven't taken one off.
Oh,
it's working
that's
well.
a really sweet thing. I'm gonna have to do a heart chart as well.
Yeah, it's so cute because it rhymes. It makes so much sense. So I've got one
Yeah.
that the reusable pen. So you just, because it's easy to rub out. I'm like,
You should. There's a product right there.
Go.
The heart chart.
Make a self-love one, hearts on the chart. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
A new one. I like
it.
Well, I hope that everyone has enjoyed our little catch up, because we have, and we have been waiting for a while. We just made it happen. So most of Siobhan edits my podcast as well. So now I'm like, I'm just gonna learn how to do it so that I know what the first 6 weeks are like, and just in case I suddenly have this, and I wonder, like, that's why because I'm on my car online, I haven't felt like recording. This is literally the first recording I've done in 4 months since being here. And it's probably because I just don't have that energy, that that drive. But now that I've been tapping into your energy, it's helping. But
it's been nice.
I need to get someone in Cairo to be like, give me some Mars energy.
Yeah.
Actually, I know someone who's moved there. I'm gonna message her on Instagram and be like, hey, how's it going? Okay, I'm just tapping into you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna learn how to edit. So I'm gonna edit this. If you're listening to this, I edited it myself, unless there was a catastrophe, and then
and I stepped in. But
yeah, she's teaching me.
I believe in you.
Thank you. So this is like well, this is the Mars energy that I needed, hey, the little push.
That's it.
So we will check in with Siobhan again after the baby is born and she's like settled, and have a little check-in and see. It'll be so interesting to see what transits were happening when you had the baby and all that, and see, and then you can explain that as well, and how you feel. And that nodal return thing is crazy, because I had Pay 25th of June, and then I was still 35, and then I turned 36 on the 9th of August. So that's so true, that it's like huge transformation. And wow, so very interesting about that. We will check in with Siobhan in a few months' time, and hopefully did an okay job on editing this podcast. You can all laugh at me if I didn't, but we have to humble ourselves to learn new skills, so that is life, is it not? Transformation.
Yes, there we go.
Thank you for listening. Thank you, Siobhan, for giving up your time that you could be lying on your bed reading a book.
It's my pleasure.
But I will see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to Unselfishly Me. Follow us on Instagram at unselfishlyme and check out our website www.unselfishlyme.com.